Why is nobody in Washington talking about what is already scheduled to happen? On January 1st, 2026, millions of American retirees will face a sudden and potentially massive tax hike. This is not a proposal. This is not a political debate. It is already law. This event, known as the 2026 tax cliff, is set to collide with the single biggest political fight in Washington, the future of Social Security. This is the real 2026 crisis. What are Trump's and Biden's actual plans to deal with this mess? And more importantly, what is your plan to protect your money? We will answer all of it right now. You've seen the headlines, you've heard the politicians, and you are right to be concerned. There is a storm gathering around Social Security, but the crisis that most people are worried about isn't the one that's closest. Today, we are going to look past the noise. We are going to analyze the 2026 Social Security crisis. We will look at the hard numbers, and we will analyze what President Biden's and President Donald Trump's real plans mean for your retirement check. And most importantly, I will give you a clear three-step personal plan that you can use to protect your retirement, no matter who is in the White House. Let's begin. First, what is the 2026 crisis? When most people hear Social Security crisis, they think of the trust fund, the massive reserve of money, running dry. That is a real problem. But that is currently projected for the year 2033. The crisis that is happening much sooner, the one that impacts your planning today, is the 2026 tax cliff. To understand this, we have to go back to 2017. That year, President Trump signed the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, or the TCJA. This was one of the largest changes to the U.S. tax code in decades. It lowered tax rates for most individuals and for corporations. But here is the critical piece of information, the part that was written in the fine print. To pass this law, most of the individual tax cuts were made temporary. They were designed to automatically expire on December 31st, 2025. If Congress does nothing, on January 1st, 2026, tax rates for almost every American will automatically go up. The 10% bracket goes to 15%. The 22% bracket goes to 25%. The 24% bracket goes to 28%, and so on. This is the 2026 tax cliff. So, what does this have to do with Social Security? Everything. It creates a perfect storm of financial pressure. First, it's psychological. When your taxes go up, your take-home pay goes down. The savings you thought you had suddenly shrink. This pressure, this financial squeeze, is what forces people into making a panic decision. It's what forces them into making the $100,000 mistake, which is claiming Social Security at the earliest possible age 62. Second, it's political. The fight in Washington over whether to extend these tax cuts is the exact same fight over how to pay for Social Security's long-term shortfall. The two problems are now 1. This brings us sure to the plans. How do you fix Social Security? Logically, there are only 3 levers you can pull. 1. You can increase revenue, which means raising taxes. 2. You can decrease spending, which means cutting benefits or raising the retirement age. 3. You can do some combination of both. Any plan from any politician is just a different version of pulling these 3 levers. In this next section, we will analyze the proposals from both sides, and I want to be perfectly clear, this is not about personality, it is not about politics, it is a neutral financial analysis of the policies and what they mean for your money. Let's start with President Biden's proposals. The core of the Biden plan is to fix the shortfall by pulling lever number 1, raise taxes, but specifically on high earners. Right now, in 2025, you only pay Social Security payroll taxes on the first $177,000 of your income. This is called the payroll tax cap. If you make $200,000 or $2 million, You only pay Social Security tax on that first $177,000. Anything above it is not taxed for Social Security. The Biden plan proposes to change this. It would keep the current cap, but it would also apply the Social Security tax to all income over $400,000. This would create a donut hole where income between $177,000 and $400,000 is not taxed, but everything above $400,000 is. This single change would inject a massive amount of new revenue into the system. The second part of his plan is to slightly increase benefits for some recipients by changing how inflation is calculated. It would switch from the current CPI to a new formula called the CPIE, which is designed to more accurately reflect the spending habits of seniors, particularly on health care. So let's analyze this. The upside, is that this plan makes the Social Security system solvent for decades. It fixes the math, and it does so without cutting benefits or raising the retirement age for anyone currently near retirement. The downside is that it is a significant tax increase on high-income earners, professionals, and business owners. And some economists argue this could slow down economic growth. That is the Biden plan. Raise taxes on the top end to preserve benefits for everyone. Now, let's look at the proposals from President Donald Trump. The Trump plan is more complicated because it contains a central contradiction. Publicly, President Trump has stated many times that he will not touch Social Security or Medicare. This means he is against pulling lever number 2. He is against cutting benefits and against raising the retirement age. At the same time, the core of his economic platform is to make the 2017 tax cuts, the TCJA, permanent. This means he is also against raising taxes. In fact, he wants to cut revenue. So, this is the contradiction. How can you fix a program that is running out of money by cutting its funding and also promising not to cut its benefits? The math doesn't add up. So, what is the real plan? If we look at proposals from his allies and from his previous budgets, the plan becomes clearer. The plan is to bet on economic growth. The argument is that by making the tax cuts permanent and by deregulating, the U.S. economy will grow so fast that more people will be working and paying into the system, and that this new growth will be enough to fix the shortfall without new taxes or benefit cuts. This is the pro of the plan. It is very market-friendly and requires no immediate, painful new taxes. The con is that it is a massive gamble. Most economists, from both parties, agree that growth alone cannot fill the hole. So, what happens if the growth doesn't come? This is where the hidden plan, or Plan B, comes in. If you cannot raise taxes, and you cannot cut benefits directly, and growth doesn't save you, what is left? The most likely answer is a bipartisan commission. This is a very common tool in Washington. It creates a special committee to study the problem, and then make recommendations that Congress can vote on. This sounds good, but historically, these commissions always recommend the same things. A mix of raising the retirement age, perhaps to 69 or 70, and means testing, which is a way of reducing benefits for seniors who have other income or assets. So, to summarize the two approaches, the Biden plan is a direct fix. It's a large tax increase on the wealthy to preserve benefits. The Trump plan is a gamble on economic growth, which, if it fails, carries a very high risk of future benefit cuts and a higher retirement age. This brings us to the most important part of this video. You have two competing plans, two different futures, and you, the pre-retiree, are stuck in the middle. You cannot control Washington. You cannot control who wins an election, but you can control your personal economy. So, here is the real plan, your plan. It has 3 steps. Step 1. Plan for the worst. Starting today, stop assuming you will receive 100% of your promised Social Security benefit. When you run your retirement numbers, use a stress test. Assume you will only receive 80% of what your statement says. If your plan still works, if you are still okay, then you have removed the government's power over your future. You have built a plan based on reality, not on a politician's promise, and if the cuts never come, that's just a bonus. Step 2. Reframe the $100,000 mistake. In a world of uncertainty, waiting to claim Social Security becomes more important, not less. Remember, claiming at 62 gives you a 30% permanent cut. Waiting until 70 gives you a 24% permanent bonus. Now, let's apply our stress test. Let's say the government does cut benefits by 20%. If you claimed early, your tiny check just got tinier. But if you waited, your large check is now cut. A 20% cut on a large benefit is still a much larger check than a cut on a small one. Waiting until 70 is your personal insurance policy. It is the single best way to protect yourself against future government cuts. Step 3. Weaponize the 2026 tax cliff. This is the most powerful high-level strategy. We know that tax rates today are the lowest they will likely be for a very long time. Whether the tax cuts expire on their own in 2026 or they are replaced by new taxes, it is almost certain that taxes are going up. This means we are in a tax holiday. We are in a window of opportunity. And the way you use this window is with Roth conversions. A Roth conversion is a simple choice. You choose to move money from your pre-tax retirement accounts, like a 401k or a traditional IRA, into a post-tax Roth account. When you do this, you must pay income taxes on the amount you move today. Why on earth would you do that? Because you are paying taxes today at these known historically low rates, so that in the future, when taxes are likely much higher, you can withdraw all of that money and all of its growth, 100% tax-free. This is how you build your bridge. You use Roth conversions from now until 2026 to build a bucket of tax-free money. That money is what you live on from age 62 to 70, allowing your Social Security check to grow into its maximum possible amount. You solve the tax crisis and the Social Security crisis in one move. Let's conclude. Do not fear the 2026 crisis. See it for what it is. It is a check engine light. It is a warning. It is a call to action. You now know the real plans. You know the 3 levers. And you have your 3-step plan. Control what you can control. Control your spending. Control your claiming date. And control your tax bracket. I am not a financial advisor. This video is for educational purposes only. Please consult with a qualified professional before making any financial decisions, but the first step is free. Go to ssa.gov, create your My Social Security account, look at your numbers, and start building your bridge. Thank you for watching.